What is up, guys? Welcome back to another Salt and Pauper Saturday video, and today I know I promised the return of the AI deck, and we will get to leagues with that deck in a future video, but today we have an avalanche of downshift announcements from Commander Masters, and we are going to be diving in to the most exciting downshifts for Pauper. So there are a ton of really powerful cards that just got previewed as officially downshifted into common rarity, which means they are now Pauper legal. So let's take a look at all these exciting reprints and what it means for the Pauper format. Let's get to it. Okay, first up we have All That Glitters. All That Glitters is a aura enchant creature that says enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each artifact or enchantment you control. Now, a lot of people are really excited about Boggles. Obviously, this card is going to be an absolute slam dunk in Boggles, but because it also gives +1/+1 for each artifact you control, there's definitely the rumblings of a white X or a mono white artifact deck. What's up, guys? Editor Chad here. I just wanted to hop in and interject real quick because literally as I was editing this video, there was an entire conversation on the r/Pauper subreddit regarding All That Glitters and its absolute ridiculous potential in the Esper aggro affinity shell. So I just wanted to give a quick shout out to OP Pete Gordolina for submitting a couple of screenshots. I'm going to drop one on the screen now. Just so you know, this deck is absolutely the real deal. This card is very, very good. So do not underestimate All That Glitters in Pauper. All right, back to the video. Especially when you combine that with another one of the downshifts coming later, Myrsmith. But we'll take a look at that in a minute. At the end of the day, this is just another massive pump enchantment for Boggles. Obviously, that deck is going to love this, and we'll see how many it can fit in. There's not too many open slots in Boggles at the moment, but a 2-mana mass pump to match Ethereal Armor is definitely going to make the cut. So this is a very, very exciting downshift for Boggles, and we'll certainly see Pauper play in Constructed. The next card up is Generous Gift. Generous Gift is a 3-mana instant, destroys target permanent, and then its controller creates a 3/3 elephant. Now, this is a really interesting Vindicate variant for Pauper because it is one of the only destroy target permanents that we have. Ultimately, I think this card is fringe playable. White removal definitely is a little bit lacking. Journey to Nowhere is usually the only or best option. But this is a really interesting option for that. Leaving behind a 3/3 elephant, while good, is not an absolute backbreaker, and having access to instant speed permanent removal, especially against things that want to enchant their lands or specific creatures or those kind of things that white kind of struggles with at instant speed, can be very, very powerful. So really interested to see if this card shows up. I think it will make a small impact, if not be fringe playable for competitive Constructed. I expect to see at least a few of these in sideboards, at least a few of these in main boards, but I would definitely pick some up while you have the chance. Next up is Myrsmith. This is the card that I think will side-by-side All With Glitters and maybe a few other white cards that have come out in like Brothers War and March of the Machines that make artifact in white. I think there's definitely something there, and with things like the two drops that we got that each pump for artifacts entering play, there certainly seems to be a shell there being built for a mono white or a white X artifact deck. So I'd keep an eye on that possibility and have fun brewing it to see what you can come up with. But Myrsmith is a 2-mana human artificer. It's a 2/1 for a white and a colorless, And whenever you cast an artifact spell, you may pay an additional 1 if you do create a 1/1 colorless artifact Myr token. So this really allows you to go very wide very, very quickly, especially alongside things with affinity, so that you always have that extra mana to keep making Myrs, and then they kind of snowball on each other. So really interesting card, great downshift, very excited to see what can be done with this card in Pauper, especially because 1/1 tokens and 1/1 artifacts are at a premium right now. Just in general, artifact synergies are very, very good, and 1/1 tokens are everywhere. So I think this is going to line up very well to what a lot of the meta wants to do. Next up, we have a very exciting blue card coming at us from Cryptic Serpant. This is a 7-drop, 5 and 2 blue, and it is a 6/5 Serpent, but the spell costs 1 less to cast for each instant or sorcery in your graveyard. So while it doesn't have Ward 2, and it will cost 2 at minimum, this card, stepping alongside Tolarian Terror, will absolutely see an impact. This will make what I believe will be like mono blue terror or mono blue turbo terror decks quite viable, because this can replace Gurmag Angler and line up with things like maybe Delver of Secrets, and it really kind of gives life to that mono blue Delver package, just in the form of card density. It really needed another top-end spell that wasn't like Spire Golem, and this certainly fills that role. Definitely excited to see this card play, and I'm positive that this will see some level of constructed play, but who knows how long that'll last for. So play with it while you can, and I definitely look forward to seeing some deck lists popping up in the league reports with Cryptic Serpent. Next up in blue, we have Shipwreck Dowser. This is a 5-mana 3/3 Merfolk Wizard, but it has Prowess. And when it enters the battlefield, you return an instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. So this is essentially the new Mnemonic Wall. Ultimately, this card, I believe, is better than Mnemonic Wall, even though it is boltable. Prowess can do a lot in the face of damage-based removal. But also, it costs double blue instead of Mnemonic Wall single blue. So decks like Flickertron may still prefer Mnemonic Wall, but overall, I think this card's pretty powerful. And if we find some late gamey or more control-based variants that aren't like familiars that really care about lower mana costs, I think this card sees play, but that remains to be seen. Either way, it is another very powerful effect downshifted into Pauper. We are getting to a place now where we have several variations of the Archaeomancer effect in blue, and eventually we're going to hit a critical mass of them, and I think we're getting pretty close. So definitely excited to see another one of these effects enter the format. But now we get to the truly exciting stuff, which is black. Black players rejoice. You guys got some absolute bangers. First of which is Dread Return. Everybody was calling for Zombify, and we got that and then some. So Dread Return is a sorcery. It is 2 and 2 black. It returns target creature from your graveyard to the battlefield straight up. It also has flashback, sacrifice 3 creatures. So we got Zombify plus downshifted into Pauper, which is absolutely ridiculous, by the way. This card is fantastic. I know a lot of people are talking about Balustrade Spy decks and what they can do with this, and I think it's a really, really interesting option for a lot of those graveyard-based or self-mill combo decks, as well as giving Reanimator some additional consistency. So this card is an absolute banger of a downshift. Really, really excited to see what this does to the format. It will definitely see play. In fact, it's already seeing testing play. Several people online are talking about lists and collaborating to build reanimation shells for this. So look forward to seeing a lot of Dread Return in Pauper. Really, really excited to see what this can do for the format. I think Self-Mill got some excellent tools, Dread Return being one of them. Next up, we have Drown in Sorrow. Drown in Sorrow is a new Infest variant. Well, not new, but new to Pauper. Previously, Suffocating Fumes was probably the best 3 mana board wipe available to Pauper in black, next to things like Fiery Cannonade from red. And now Drown in Sorrow has been downshifted, and that gives all creatures -2/-2, and then you scry 1, and this is for double black and a colorless at sorcery speed. So definitely a powerful effect. Things like Arms of Hadar, clearly upstaged by this card, so expect to see a lot of this. And board wipes getting cheaper and more available in Pauper is going to have an overall impact on the format, so I certainly expect this to see play. There was another board wipe downshifted as well, so there are a lot of removal options coming to the format, and what I believe might be one of the best board wipes that the format has seen in a long time. So that's coming up. Stay tuned for that. Before we move on, guys, make sure if you are enjoying the video, if you enjoy the content, if you enjoy the channel, please like the video and subscribe to the channel down below. Drop a comment down just to say what's up for the algorithm and really boost up the visibility of the channel. I know we had a little bit of a rough patch there at the beginning of July. I was just very busy and videos were very difficult to put together on the fly. So we're back to our regularly scheduled program, and I will be putting out consistent videos every Saturday as usual, but they'll be a little bit higher quality. I have a little bit longer to edit and more to talk about with a lot of the stuff happening at Pauper. So look forward to that coming soon. As I said, we will get to our AI deck league and the deck building challenge to try to win a game with that deck. I think it's going to be a struggle, but we will get to that soon. But let's dive back into these downshifts. The next one up is Lotleth Giant. This is the card that has a lot of those Balustrade Spy players buzzing next to Dread Return. And this is a 7 mana zombie giant. For 6 and a black, you get a 6/5, but it has Undergrowth. When it enters the battlefield, it deals 1 to target opponent for each creature in your graveyard. So this has absolute endgame potential. This can nuke people from the graveyard, which is absolutely crazy. Self-mill and things like the Balustrade Spy combo, maybe even the Cycle Storm combo, can put together some really interesting use cases for this card. And I expect it to have a relatively large impact in the combo scene as a finisher. So excited to see what this card adds to the format. It is quite slow. It is quite big. But notably, once it enters the battlefield, you can't really interact with its ability. I will say that a lot of this downshifted set is graveyard oriented, and graveyard removal has taken a little bit of a backseat lately in the face of things like Kuldotha Red and Ponza. With the uptick in Cycle Storm popularity, now that it's being piloted by Kalikaz, since he's taking a break from Altertron, I definitely think that graveyard removal is going to be at a premium as soon as this set is legal, so make sure that you are equipped for some graveyard value engines. Make sure you have your exile effects ready to play and come out of the sideboard. Dust off your Tormod's Crypts even. I think that exile effects are going to have a very, very strong application in the upcoming new meta. Rounding out black, another black card here that I believe will absolutely have an impact on the format, which is Nadir's Nightblde. This is a 3 mana 1/3 elf warrior. For 2 and a black, you get a 1/3. Whenever a token you control leaves the battlefield, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. This card is insane. When you pair this with the recently printed Mirkwood Bats out of Lord of the Rings, these two are going to be an absolute powerhouse, and Black Aristocrats made a jump into viability very, very quickly. So I caution you not to rule this card or this deck out. I think the strategy will be very powerful. I still think we're lacking a little bit of enabling in the form of making a whole bunch of black tokens at the same time. I think we definitely still haven't really seen a super playable card that can do that, but when you're doing things like blood tokens, like treasure tokens from Deadly Dispute or Blood Fountain, these effects definitely stack up quite quickly, and a lot of your deck is just arbitrarily doing those or making those tokens or sacrificing things, so I really do think that this deck strategy is going to be viable. It's really just going to be about whether or not we can find the ability to stall the game long enough to really stack up these effects, because a 1-3 for 3 and a 2-2 for 4 really isn't where Pauper wants to be at the moment. So hopefully we have the time to assemble an engine around those cards, but ultimately I think the deck is quite good. I think that maybe there's a place to build these as the win condition or the value addition to like the mono black foods deck using Witch's Cauldron and Cauldron Familiar. So time will tell, but I think this card is one to look out for and definitely take seriously. We actually have a downshift I did not expect to see, which is Witch's Cauldron. We have Cauldron Familiar, which is an absolutely incredible card, but unfortunately has recently seen an absolutely insane price spike, so hopefully you already got yours. With the Lord of the Rings food synergy cards coming into play, unfortunately other formats have picked up Cauldron Familiars, and it is absolutely driving the price higher. But to go along with that, we got Witch's Cauldron downshifted into Pauper, and for those of you who played with Cauldron Familiar combo in Standard when it was there, it is a very, very powerful late gamey and control synergy that can drain opponents while drawing cards and give you a lot of card advantage going into the late game. So if we do see a graveyard-based or a very control-oriented black X or mono black build, I fully expect this to be in it. We also have a bit of sacrifice synergy in some of the downshifts as well, so line this up with things like Cataxian Infiltrator or the next downshift card that we're going to talk about, and I really do think that this card has the potential to see quite a bit of play alongside its cat friend. For those of you who aren't familiar, Witch's Cauldron is a 1 black artifact that says, black, colorless, tap, sacrifice a creature, you gain 1 life, and draw 1 card. Absolutely great when you pair it with Cauldron Familiar, which when you sacrifice a food can be returned from the graveyard, and when it enters play it drains 1 life, so you can definitely see how that engine kind of puts itself together. Next up, we dive into red with a newly downshifted Satyr Berserker Blood Aspirant. This is a 1/1 Satyr Berserker for a red and colorless, and whenever you sacrifice a permanent, any permanent, put a 1/1 counter on it, and then you can tap 2 and tap it and sacrifice a creature or enchantment, and it deals 1 damage to target creature, and that creature can't block this turn. The activated ability, I don't expect to see a ton of application of, but a 2-mana 1/1 that grows when you sacrifice a permanent will stack up very, very fast in Pauper. There are an absolute horde of sacrifice effects and tokens that get sacrificed in Pauper at the moment, so I fully expect this card to be viable and see some marked performance and finishes from this card. So keep your eye out. I think this card's going to be quite good at applying pressure. Moving on, we have another red card that I was ecstatic about seeing downshifted. I never thought we'd see this card downshifted, but this is Guttersnipe. It is a 2/2 Goblin Shaman for 3, 2 and a red. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, it deals 2 to each opponent. It doesn't target, and it doesn't have like only triggers once a turn or anything like that. It's just every spell you cast deals 2 damage to each opponent. So this card is absolutely fantastic, and I fully expect to see this card as a win condition, if not one of the major threats in several different like Stormy brews. This card accelerates the 8 pulse pinger strategy a lot. Now that being said, it is a 3-drop, not a 2-drop, so the effect is definitely going to be a little more powerful when you compare it to things like Kessig Flame Breather, but ultimately this card accelerates the clock a lot for that deck, and I fully expect to see people playing with this card to try to make it work. And if somebody manages to crack the code and get this card in a deck that it shines in, this card will be very, very good. Last but not least, we have probably the best board wipe that has been introduced to Pauper in quite a while. This is Sulphorous Blast. This is a 4-mana instant for 2 red and 2 colorless. You get to deal 2 damage to each creature and each player. But If you cast the spell during your main phase, it deals 3 to each creature and each player instead. This card is great. It is an instant speed card, so you can play it reactively at the end of your opponent's turn if necessary, but also if you need just a little bit more damage, slamming in your main phase definitely has its upsides, and we have not seen a 3 damage spell to the board since Crypt Rats, really. I mean, it's very, very hard to get more than 2 damage on a common spell in Pauper. We have, you know, not Volcanic Fallout, we have Fiery Cannonade, we have Breath Weapon, we've got Arms of Hadar, Eye of Light's Ending. You know, we have all of these spells that only deal with X2s, and this being able to deal with X3s has a remarkable advantage over those others, especially because it maintains its instant status, and it's only 1 more mana than all of those, or even the same mana as some of the 4-drop ones, so absolutely incredible card. Now, noticeably, this deals it to each creature, not each creature your opponent controls, like some of the other spells on that list. But overall, I think this card is incredibly powerful and will certainly see play. So that wraps it up for the most exciting, at least to me, downshifts from the Commander Masters set coming out in just a little bit. What did you guys think of the downshifts? Were you guys excited to see what was downshifted by this set? Do you wish that we had gotten anything else instead of one of these cards? Shout out down below. Let me know what you guys think this set is going to do to the format. But thank you so much for watching. As usual, guys, goodbye forever unless I see you next time. Peace.